Hi, everybody. It's Yvonne DeVita, and I'm here with another episode of Scratchins and Sniffins Out Loud with Dr. Larry McDaniel and Dr. Grace Long. And today we're going to talk about probiotics. This term is big in the health food industry today, and we're going to talk about how it affects our pets. So welcome, Dr. Larry and Dr. Grace.
Hi.
Thanks, Yvonne. Actually, Grace and I have worked on this at Purina, and I think maybe to ground everybody, Grace, could you just give us the thumbnail version of what are probiotics?
Okay. I'm even going to step back one step further, Larry, and just remind everybody that in the GI tract, it's actually the home to hundreds of different types of bacteria, but the good bacteria always keep the bad in balance, and so that's key, is to have that good equilibrium or balance. There are certain things that can upset that balance, however, and that's where probiotics come in, because probiotics are actually good bacteria. When you take probiotics, you're basically adding the good guys and increasing the numbers of those in the intestine. So they're live bacteria that have a beneficial effect in the GI tract and in the intestine of animals.
And just to be clear, we as dogs, cats, people, we normally have billions of bacteria living in our healthy GI tracts all the time.
Billions. And in fact, about half of the weight of the feces is actually bacteria.
So Grace, how do these good bacteria, these probiotics, impact the health or the environment in the intestinal tract?
Well, one thing to remember is that about 70% of the immune cells in the entire body are in the GI tract. These bacteria interact with those and stimulate that immune system in the GI tract to produce antibodies that fight off bacteria and just help the overall strength of the immune system in the animal. They also help just to keep everything in balance and reduce the risk of any sort of GI upset like diarrhea by keeping the bad bacteria at bay.
These bacteria make the environment inhospitable for some of the disease-causing bacteria.
That's true. They set up house and they create an environment that they like to live in, and the normal good bacteria that are there also like to live in it. But they lower the pH, and the pathogens and the bad bacteria don't like that. So it makes an environment that is great for the good bacteria, but not very good for the harmful.
How would this help, or how can it be applied to dogs and cats?
Well, it can help overall to reduce the risk of GI upset, but a lot of times probiotics are actually used when an animal has diarrhea. This could be the result of stress. A lot of animals, when they're upset or stressed, will get diarrhea. Sometimes it's because they ate something they weren't supposed to. And practically always, when you have diarrhea, you have an imbalance of those bacteria. So the probiotics basically come in and help to restore that balance.
I have a personal story, and I think this applies to dogs and cats too. I had my wisdom teeth out, and one of them got infected, and I was on antibiotics. And the antibiotics basically killed all the bacteria in my intestinal tract, and I kind of got a bad GI reaction to that. And one of the recommendations of my physician was to try to recolonize my GI tract using probiotics. So I guess that could work in dogs and cats that are on antibiotic therapy too.
It definitely does. The same thing exactly happens in animals. You take antibiotics to kill off the bad bacteria, but you tend to also kill off some of the good bacteria, and then the imbalance sets in. Probiotics help a lot in a case like that. And in fact, what we recommend is let's be proactive. And if you have a pet that you know tends to get loose stools or diarrhea when it's on antibiotics, start the probiotics first or at the same time.
So how do I add probiotics? Does it come in a liquid? Does it come in a jar? Is it a pill?
Great question. We actually have a product. It's called Fortiflora, and it comes in a little packet that you can open up. It's just about a tablespoon or less of product, and you sprinkle it on the food, and it tastes really good. You can either put it on the food or you can just put it on a saucer and as a treat. And I always tell the story about my grandcat. My grandcat has to take a pill a day and does not like to take that pill, but we can actually put the pill on a saucer, cover it with the Fortiflora, and she licks it right down. She loves it.
Excellent.
So, Grace, how would somebody get Fortiflora? Isn't it in the veterinary diet line?
It is in the Purina Veterinary Diet line, and it's available at most veterinarians. You can also read about it on PurinaVeterinaryDiets.com, and I believe that we're going to be running a rebate on that as well, that they'll be able to print off from PurinaVeterinaryDiets.com.
You know, I'm actually on the web page right now, and indeed there is a $5 rebate on Fortiflora, which kind of brings up another question for me. PVD diets typically are for animals that have a disease problem. It seems to me that you could use Fortiflora, put it on puppy food for normal, healthy puppies, and help them by stimulating their immune system.
Definitely, and in fact, we've even studied that. We've given puppies just one of their routine vaccinations, like, say, canine distemper, and we've looked at the titers, and actually they develop a stronger antibody titer, and it lasts longer if they are on Fortiflora, the probiotic. So it definitely helps strengthen that immune system in the growing puppy.
Wow, that's impressive.
The other group that it's really good for is the opposite end, the geriatric animal, because there the immune system tends to be not as strong, and you have an older animal that you want to give that extra boost to. Fortiflora is really good for them as well.
You know, we talk about a friend of mine's dog on the blog a lot, Alice. And Grace, Alice is a Labrador Retriever cross, and she had a history of chronic vomiting. And her veterinarian did some biopsies, and we think she's got one of those infiltrative diseases of the small intestine, like inflammatory bowel disease. Is there any application potentially for probiotics with a dog like Alice?
Definitely. We have seen some dogs with inflammatory bowel disease improve when a probiotic is added. Inflammatory bowel disease, though, as you know, is sort of a catch-all. There's a lot of different conditions that all look very similar, but there is a good chance that Fortiflora could help. And another product that could probably help this dog is HA, our hypoallergenic diet.
So, you know, Grace, maybe when we're down at the Western States Veterinary Conference, I could bring some samples of Fortiflora back. We could try them on Alice.
I think that'd be wonderful, yeah.
I did try to sneak a little question in there. Are we talking primarily dogs, or can we? You said you gave it to your cat also, so it's a cat or a dog thing.
Real good question. We have it for both cats and dogs. They're separate products. They have the same probiotic in them, but there's also some vitamins and minerals in that little packet. So the cat ones are more specific for cat, and the dog are more specific for dog. It's one packet a day, and you just sprinkle it on the food. In fact, it tastes so good that, you know, sometimes cats are finicky, especially if they're not feeling well. A lot of veterinarians will actually use this as a palatability enhancer to try to get the cat to eat their food a little bit better.
You know, another place where this would work, Grace, is if you were taking your dog to a boarding kennel. You went on vacation for a couple of weeks. I think it would be great to take some of that along to have them feed while they were in that environment, because, you know, there's the potential for a lot of introduction of unfamiliar bacteria to your dog when they're in that type of situation.
Definitely, and it's also a very high-stress environment. Even the best kennel is going to be very stressful for a dog, with a good likelihood that they may develop a GI tract problem. So that's definitely an indication for it. Boarding, travel, any change in their environment.
Anything you can do to stimulate the immune system is basically going to help your pet stay healthy.
Definitely. It's been out on the market for a couple of years now, and it's been very successful.
I think this is very helpful. There's nothing worse than having a pet with an upset stomach, because you literally don't know what to do about things like that. If they hurt themselves in many other ways, that will fix a broken leg or whatever. But when our pets get those upset tummies, it's a real trial to try and figure out how to treat them. So this is very helpful in preventing things like that. We are going to be back again with Dr. Grace.
Yeah, we're looking at once a month, and we do have an interesting lineup of topics, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
Absolutely. So for today, thank you, Dr. Grace. Thank you, Dr. Larry.
Thank you.
This is Scratchins and Sniffins Out Loud signing off.